All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for My Hero Academia,
Season 5, Episode 17.
All right.
Okay.
So in the last episode, we had our bit of a filler. The episode before that, though, we were seeing what Endeavor is as a teacher and as a pro-hero role model to the three main boys here. Now, these three all have very different relationships with Endeavor. One is his son, even though not as big of a fan of that aspect of it. Another one is one that was, in some ways, kind of very similar to him. You know, Bakugo
has that same energy.
That drive, you know. But Deku has one in which he was the protege of his rival.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I really want them to continue to develop that, to go more in depth into it, and to see what it develops out of them when we get into conflicts with more villains and stuff. Because, well, we've got the whole Dabi situation. We've got the whole thing with Hawks and the Meta Liberation Army.
Yeah.
But then we have just the whole League of Villains just quietly just chilling in the background, not doing anything overt right now. But Endeavor seems like the kind of person who would just end up punching directly into conflict with all these parties. Like, at some point.
He is the number one hero right now, so he kind of has a target on his back.
Well, right, but there's different reasons as to why he would bump into all three of those groups. One of them with things being a little bit more subtle in that there are probably heroes that are on the Meta Liberation Army's side. The League of Villains, well, because Deku's here, and also Shigaraki seems to be doing his own thing right now. But then the Dabi side of things, well, because
Dabi, there's no connection there at all.
Yeah, there's no connection. That's right. Nope, nothing at all.
Nothing whatsoever.
Nope, should be pretty simple. Or we could get just some more work studies.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right, awkward dinner conversation, the episode with a lot of recap.
A serious amount of recap.
A ridiculous amount of recap. This is something that is an unfortunate thing because the content that they're going towards here, the Todoroki family and the struggle of all of them and how to move forward in this, or is it even possible to move forward? Very, very interesting subject matter.
Yes. Execution-wise,
I felt like this was half of an episode.
Right.
This was not actually like going into much at all with it, other than the stuff of Endeavor literally thinking about the stuff that we then understand as we've seen all that before.
Right. And that
things are good to have refreshers of, but it's still like it's still too much.
Like there and it's something that kind of concerns me a bit because with the first half of the season, it's like, okay, totally get it. There were manga reasons and health reasons for why it was that way and things like that, right? But this would be the kind of thing where, thankfully, actually, I'm not sure whether I'm glad that it's happening with this or if I wish it had happened with something else in the story. Because on the one hand, the Todoroki family situation, that is definitely not something you want to rush.
No,
right?
But it's one of the most interesting things about the character conflicts that go beyond the superhero powers.
So spending this long and not really getting anything new, like, on the one hand, I feel like it is good to have that bit of reminder of the details of the trauma for the characters so that way we remember that it is still a very present thing for them, right? Yeah. It hasn't just gone away.
The unfortunate thing about that is that the meta reason is too obvious. It's because they're bringing Dabi into the story and they're wanting him to have a cool confrontation moment with Endeavor.
And if
it's too obvious, and it's unfortunate because I understand why that needs to happen. It's a way to have Endeavor be punished in a way that goes beyond fighting. It's going to emotionally break him, but it's still something that they could explore actually a lot more of it with Shoto and his brother and sister.
Like
independent of all this other stuff.
Exactly. Because one of the other vibes that I got was that because they wanted to have that bit of, talking about, not Dabi, they also didn't want to make it obvious that that's what they were doing, so they put in a lot more stuff for the flashbacks than we really needed. Like, there was a lot of things there.
But I don't know if that's why they did it.
Well, okay, that doesn't necessarily have to be why they did it, but there were a lot of points where it's like, okay, yeah, these high impact moments and getting things like what the mom did and said immediately after she burned Shoto.
Yes, that's really cool.
That's good stuff
because it shows that when we saw that scene in season 2, we didn't know what was going on in her head entirely at the time outside of what Shoto overheard.
Right.
But then what happens after that is a thing of where she snapped out of it. Like, she woke up from a dream almost.
Right.
Like that's something that's really important to know, because it realizes that, she was in such a panic, reflexive, reactionary mode that she's not even sure what she did. To Shoto, which, of course, that makes sense, obviously.
Taking this emotional action that we're getting, if I were to compare it to a physical action scene.
Sure.
We previously had the wind-up and the impact, but we didn't get the aftermath so much. It kind of skipped past that, right? We saw, Shoto with the patch and everything and how he interacted with Endeavor, but not with regards to the mom. So getting that was awesome. But a lot of the additional context bits, it's like, we know that happened. We don't necessarily need to see it again. I would be much more interested in seeing how that affects the characters in this present day. Like, when Endeavor was thinking back on everything that had happened and all the stuff that he had done, I felt like it cut away right as it was about to get good. Because it's all right, let's bring up the memories again so we know we don't just know what Endeavor's thinking about, but we know the feelings that are associated with that. But the thing is that we don't really know the feelings that are associated with that, because as soon as then it goes through the recap and then we see him, he says like a word in his head, basically, like a couple words, and then that's it. Let's dwell on that. Let's see how it affects him. Like, what is,
It feels like we're not the target audience sometimes for MHA, because the show gives so much like little like kind of bits of reminder regarding some aspects of the themes, and then we're like, oh, now you're going to explore those themes, and it's like, well, no, not really as much, not really. It's okay. I totally get it, in that we've got a whole overarching plot conflict in addition to this, so that's something that needs to be reminded of. But I would say that MHA in this is trying to bite off more than it can chew, because I don't feel the progress of these three boys getting better. It's not even really presented well enough for me to be able to see that they're doing better. They just say that they are, and I just have to take their word for it. So then when they do the stuff with Todoroki, like Shoto specifically, I then feel like, oh, we're just about to get into some really cool stuff here.
But then we still don't really make progress. Like,
So like, I really liked that this dinner scene happened. And yet, I would have loved to have spent maybe a good, 3 minutes more, 4 or 5 minutes more maybe, on just that. Because I think the best part of it was, honestly, the awkward bit of just, Natsu being like, hey, Endeavor.
Right.
And it's like, shit, he just called his father at the dinner table his work name. That's like saying, I don't acknowledge you as even being here.
Yeah, that's like worse than saying Mr. So-and-so.
Exactly.
And
why was Endeavor the one doing the dishes specifically alone? Maybe it's because he's like, I feel burdened about this, so I'm gonna do the dishes. It's okay, Fuyumi. No, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's giving him some time to be also alone, so that he can be maybe with his thoughts and stuff.
Well, and even the whole thing of I want to invite them, but at the same time, I don't know if that's okay. And then Fuyumi invites them, and
we get the subtlety of that.
And we get the subtlety of that. But you even could have leaned into that a little more, or there were so many things that I felt like they could have gotten into here. And I even want to go back and look when Deku then brings up all the stuff of, I think this is the kind of phase that you're in now. If you really hate your dad, then I think it's fine to not be able to forgive him. But I think you're getting ready so you can forgive him. You're a really kind person. Yeah. Looks to me like you're waiting. Right. That's all stuff where I'm like, okay, hey, Deku, way to go, maybe. That's a very sensitive, it's very specific, and you're getting into a sensitive topic that you really don't actually know that much about, so careful. And we don't see Shoto's actual response to that.
So please continue that in the next episode.
Right,
That's
right.
all we're saying. Like, this episode needs a part 2. And I think we're getting that because the end of it shows Toya in what looks like a shrine of sorts as if he died. Which, spoiler alert, there's no way that this isn't Dabi at this point.
Even though there was that other character that was introduced at the very end that was...
Yeah, I think that's more of a... Like a League thing or a Meta Liberation Army thing. I don't really have too many immediate theories on it, other than there's kind of a cool, subtle thing of reminding us that it's the end of the year and Christmas. It's almost here.
Right.
But there's some connection that this person has to Endeavor.
Right.
Which I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't want new. This is something that has tended to be kind of a complaint that I have with MHA, is that I feel like it introduces characters faster than I can get attached to the ones that are already there. Yeah. You know? And it'll be like, well, no, hold on, we don't need a new character right here. Like, the idea of this episode needing a 2-parter, it didn't need to have one. If whatever, like theoretically what I think the 2-parter might be and what it could be and all that stuff, if we end up getting that, but instead it had all just been in this episode, which I think it totally could have been, this probably would have been one of my favorite episodes in the show.
Yes. True. Yes. I 100% am with you.
Because the season 2, what made it so good, like specifically, especially that first half, it wasn't just the tournament or things like that or the awesome fights and, you say run. It was the emotion and the feeling of what was going on, the stakes of everything. Like that was huge, right?
Huge.
So
also, quick little what? I thought Toya had red hair. I'm looking at the bit here where we show them playing with the ball in the courtyard, and then you see Endeavor walking up on the railing with Shoto, and we very clearly see Natsu with his very spiky, anime protagonist kind of hair. Fuyumi is clear as day,
and someone with red hair.
Someone with red hair. So what happened?
Yeah.
Why is Toya in the image on the shrine with white hair? I'm pretty sure that's Toya, and then we have here. Clearly redheaded kid.
Yeah,
was that a phase dye thing where it's like, oh, I don't like you, Dad, so I'm going to dye my hair white to spite you.
That's
literally the only thing I can come up with.
That would be crazy. The other thing that I can come up with, and I hope this isn't the case, is that it's no. The red-haired one was never actually a child of the Todoroki family. They were just a friend. They were just a friend that happened to have a fire quirk that came over and visited, and Shoto was never allowed to play with them.
We never see them use their quirk.
But if that's then Dabi,
no. I'm with
something,
you. I'm with you though. I think it's 100% that Toya is Dabi.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the dyeing the hair.
Yeah, I think it's just something that either is a plot hole or probably not a plot hole, just something that we're supposed to catch up on as being odd. That clearly this was Toya all along here, and yet Toya died. So maybe Toya wasn't old enough at this point, so this was a friend.
I don't know.
Whatever.
One of the things though that I do want to point out, just because this is something that has always been kind of like a sort of a fun thing to me, is that if you remember back in season 1 when Shoto was originally introduced, he was completely covered in ice as his character design.
Yeah.
And that was dope. It was cool and all of that stuff, right? It was
a bit.
But it was a bit much, and I'm glad that it shifted away from it, right?
Same.
It's the, okay, maybe that isn't what I want to do. Here's some reasons for how that could end up happening, and it fits with the quirk and stuff, but that's not the final design, right? It's still a work in progress. And there's a possibility that maybe that's sort of what this was here, but I feel like with hair color, that's innocuous enough that you wouldn't necessarily need to change it.
Except literally with this family.
Yeah, except with this family.
And there seems to be some kind of a connection between the hair color, potentially, and quirk. Right. Even though we actually don't know anything about Natsu or Fuyumi's quirks.
That's true.
So that it literally doesn't matter.
But I do like the idea of if Dabi dyed the hair white.
Oh.
And then that gave Shoto the inspiration of, that's right, I'm not going to rely on my dad's power.
See,
I'm going to separate myself from him.
The vibe I'm getting is more of that this was the runaway, and that the kid ended up either dying, out somewhere, and they found the body, and it's just this horrific, what did I do?
Right.
And that's like the old thing that kickstarted Endeavor's redemption arc, is that he realized too late that he hadn't already lost Shoto because of what, happened. But he also literally lost a son.
Yeah.
And all this time he's been seeing him as dead, whereas no, he's
not
actually alive.
Well,
and he's coming back with a vengeance.
So
that just sounds perfect,
Way back when, I think I mentioned this on in one of the discussions at some point, but what I had kind of assumed when we were talking about the idea of what if Dabi was a Todoroki, is that Endeavor was originally trying to teach him, and that Dabi's burns are done by Endeavor, and that if anything were to have happened, that's why Dabi was basically split from the family or whatever, right?
But that was with the assumption, I think, that Dabi would have been out of the family when he was older. Like, he would have been with the family longer or something.
Oh, sure.
But in this case here, we see him as a child,
right,
with the picture in the little memorial thing. That leads me to think that no, this happened much earlier.
And I will say, twists are great and all, but they don't always need to happen. And you could totally have had a part of this dinner be something where they're like, but it's not just Shoto, and then they bring up Dabi, right?
Yeah, I think that actually could happen in the next episode.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So what I would love to happen, because I really feel like this episode, like
and then
you
they
were
go
saying, hold on.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I think this episode could have been our favorite episode of the season, and one of our favorites in the series.
Yep.
But they've potentially, because they haven't left the house yet, they've postponed some aspects of what could happen in the house. That's all.
To clarify what I said earlier, because they did end up bringing up Dabi, right? But it was done very quickly as just sort of like a touch on the fact that he exists, right? Toya existed, right?
In their minds,
but that's something where we could have theoretically gotten into the more of the details of it, and then it's the double pronged attack of emotional hit to Endeavor, and then bringing up drama and all this crazy stuff. Right. Well, at the same time, us getting more information as a clever indirect exposition for one of the other characters.
I feel like that's too much of a pacing issue to bring up exposition at this family dinner. I'm so glad that there wasn't exposition at the family dinner, because there was already too much stuff pulling time away from it in general. So if the episode was the majority of it was the dinner and the whole scene at the house, then I think exposition could be warranted. But I am in some ways really glad that it seems like the twist is obvious. It's just the question of, will Dabi be the one to give the exposition? When he's beaten Endeavor, and then he's
he does his villain monologue with tears in his eyes.
Right. But do you remember? Remember Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and the estranged half brother?
Yes.
And how he's great. Your father. He ruined my life.
Yeah.
I loved the acting in that. I loved also the whole thing of the estranged brother kind of dynamic,
and the pettiness of you when you were a child.
Right. Exactly.
Did all of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and in this case, it's not that any of the Todoroki siblings are at fault here. It's that Endeavor created such a hostile environment that something happened to Toya, and we still don't know what that is. It could be really bad. It could be so bad that it makes Shoto's situation look
tame.
Kind.
Yeah.
But until then, what we have is this looming sense of the inevitable that, in some ways, because we have no exposition, we know it's coming.
Right.
It's something where we could end up being disappointed because it's no, Dabi isn't a Todoroki. But I mean, come on. When Dabi had his moment in season 3, episode 5 or something when he's Shoto, Todoroki, and he spits out the name with this oozing malice and just
he was just a childhood friend, and the guy that got out of the prison, that's actually Toya.
That would be.
I could see it happening.
No,
but I hope it isn't.
I cannot. I cannot accept that. but either way. I really, really want this character focus on Endeavor and his family by extension to not be over with this scene, because this scene and the stuff surrounding it, in my opinion, is not a worthwhile full capitulation of much of anything really in the Endeavor arc. This was a new awkward conflict point that I just wish was given more time to explore and go into. And it's mostly just because I got so excited, I think, once they're like, oh, the hellish Todoroki family going over for dinner. Like,
and then it's
God.
Oh, this is all it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is an exaggeration, and I don't truly mean this, but for the sake of making a point, this is something that almost felt like an extended previously on MHA before the OP, with the dinner thing. Like, it's like, okay, so the next episode is going to be all of the stuff, and
then the episode showed us at the end.
Showed us that it might go into something different, and so that's why I'm like, please no. Is this all we're going to get on this? But yeah.
But anyhow. Toya. This is about as most
they're
on the
going
nose as we've basically been hinted at that this is coming, and it's coming this season.
Yep.
We're on episode 17, and if they go by regular MH8 standards, we'll have all the way up to episode 25.
Yep. So 8 episodes left.
Yeah, because the first one was a recap episode, which means we have a whole arc and potentially change that could still go into.
They've kind of been treating the whole Todoroki or the Endeavor agency as kind of an arc with the whole intro bit of them.
The Endeavor agency work study.
Yeah.
That does feel like an arc of sorts, and it's just the build-up has to be with regards to something on the lines of Dabi, because of what we had in the very beginning of the
season. Yeah.
And that was something that just was dropped. And then we never picked it back up.
Nope.
So I want Hawks and Endeavor and the boys and Dabi and the family. I want all this to get all tangled up and dramatic and messy.
Right. This is a gold mine of storytelling possibility.
It is a gold mine, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just hoping that if anything, we get the build up to a very emotionally resonant Prominence Burn style dual episode thing like we got at the end of season 4, which just, I was awesome. To say, animation, aside, the episodes themselves were fantastic because of how much good Endeavor stuff we got. So more of that, but make it even crazier because you've got all the other parties involved.
Right.
So, yeah. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the full-length timer version of this reaction and discussion, or just the reaction right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.